Right, look at that. A villager walking on two legs like a person, not gliding across the ground like the king of pop. That's the moonwalk fixed. You're welcome. Turns out the trick was to scrap everything and start again. I'm Roger, this is Drunk Monk Games, and it's Devlog 2 for my new game. So what are we going to talk about? First, what this game actually is, or will be, properly this time. Then, why we ditched Unreal Engine, and how we're building the game now. After that, I'll walk through the design work behind the game. Then hopefully the interesting bit, I'll show what's actually been built. To wrap up, I'll walk through what's coming next. Right, let's get into it. Just a quick piece of housekeeping first. The game's got a new name. It's the Tribute Ledger now. I can't promise it's the last time the name changes. So what actually is this game? The game will have Vikings. When there are Vikings, you usually play as the raider. But in the Tribute Ledger, you are on the receiving end. So you play the game as Rodric. Rodric is an unfortunate monk who ends up founding a village basically by accident. So it's a village builder, and it will have some familiar gameplay mechanics on that side of things. I also want there to be depth in the gameplay, but I don't want to make a complex management game where you're min-maxing production routines in a spreadsheet. I'm going for cozy depth. Most settlement builder games have a tech tree. My take on that is called folkcraft. This is about focusing on the people in your village and what skills and experiences they bring to the table. So each villager will have their own specific skills that create different gameplay opportunities. So if you're lucky enough to attract a villager with smithing skills, you might build a forge and ask the smithy to create weapons and armour. You could sell these to other settlements, or you could try to use them yourself against the Vikings, which is a totally different gameplay mechanic. Now onto story. I want to create connections with the villagers and make you care about what you've created. So there's a story mechanic where villagers experience life events and have big decisions to make. And you as village leader may help rule on those decisions. But people will remember and they will hold grudges. So there's colony management to this, but I'm hoping to make that work in an organic and immersive way. Again, not just through a screen that looks like a spreadsheet. One of the things this game is not is a survival game. The aim of the game will be to create a thriving community. It's not about managing hunger and thirst stats. The choices you make and the things you build will decide how successful you'll be. Get that wrong, and you won't have the resources or defences you need when the Vikings arrive and demand tribute. You'll also choose how to experience the game. You can play it like a classic settlement builder in that zoomed out view, or you can go into first person and get stuck in at ground level. So not a survival game. It's not about spending points in spreadsheets to min-max your production routines. It's a cozy settlement builder and colony simulation about a handful of people who want to survive the Viking onslaught. There may also be raiding, but more on that later. Bigger news. Since episode 1, we've switched the game engine, which is basically the software you use to build the game. So originally I was using Unreal Engine, but I've now moved to Unity. Right, dramatics aside, why did I do this? A few reasons actually. Basically, I had time to step back and I did a bit of a design spike. When I did that, I looked at technical decisions as well. The game engine choice is the most critical piece. So I did a bit of an assessment and 4 key things came out of that. Speed of development first. Unity's workflow is just faster for one person than Unreal is. So I have quite a lot of experience in tech, but the blueprints in Unreal just made me feel like I was untangling Christmas lights. So Unity looks to be much faster so far. Second is the art style. Unreal Engine is, I'd say, optimized for realistic graphics. It uses really advanced tech like nanite and lumen and megascans. But my game is hand painted. I don't need those quite complex tools for my art style. The third piece is the the actual game assets, so like visual assets, audio assets, etc. The Unity asset store is where the placeholder villages, the environment pack you're about to see, and a lot of the animation already come from. So all that's shipped in this build already. So there are gaps and there's plenty of things that I need to build by hand, but having so much there on the asset store really accelerates things. And I found that store's better than what's available on Unreal. And then lastly is just looking at the games I'm referencing the visual style against, as well as, I guess, the technical features I want to build. This just leans more towards Unity, particularly as a solo dev. I think it's just going to be quicker, but still powerful enough for the visual style that I'm going for. So basically I threw away the Unreal work and I started again in Unity, which I think is fine, and it's part of any build cycle. We test different technologies before we land on the right one, and that's what we've done here. So hopefully Unity is the right choice. It's definitely less painful than Unreal was so far. Right, that's enough jibber-jabbering. Let's get into what's actually been built. The game is starting to come alive. So we now have villager routines and animations. They'll just go about their business. We have named villagers that are assigned to specific tasks. So you can see our protagonist Rodric is farming his own field. One of the villagers chops trees down and he takes the logs into storage. Two of them are picking berries. Nobody is idling, everybody's contributing. So there's a real economy chain in the game. You can see I've added placeholder counters for food and for wood to prove that one out. So after a tree is felled and the wood is hauled back, it will be used to build new things. And the amount of food will dictate how many villagers can be supported. I've also built a simple 1 kilometre square map of Wessex. So that forest has about 1,000 trees of 6 varieties. We've got 2 grass types, we've got rocks and flowers and birds and insects moving through it all. A lot of those assets will be replaced, but some of them I'll keep. I think having all this variety early has allowed me to do a few things in terms of testing, but also do performance testing and make sure things are running nicely. And this, the burned monastery, I think it looks great, but it was AI generated and I couldn't get it under 1 million polygons. This isn't going to scale. Once we start dropping in dozens of buildings, the game will just crawl to a halt. So I'll rebuild that monastery by hand and get that polygon count down. If you zoom out a bit further, you can see the sky, also a background in terms of the horizon, and there's a full day and night cycle that actually works. The mountainous background is definitely a placeholder though. It should look like the rolling hills of Wessex, not kind of Mordor as it looks now. I mentioned earlier that you can either play in a zoomed out view or in first person. So press tab, and instead of floating above the village, you're down in the action eye level. I did build this as a tool for myself. I just wanted to see up close if what I'm building is actually working, but it will double up as the second gameplay view with some unique gameplay mechanics. The great thing about switching game engines is we fixed everything on the old F&B list. Don't worry though, we have a bigger and better F&B list now in Unity. That's progress. Here's a good one. The forest right chops a tree. Fair enough. Now watch him carry it home. He's not carrying it, it's just kind of levitating. One of many new F&Bs on the list. So what's next? There are 3 main things. I want to give the player, which is our monk Rodric, a proper 3D model. I'll also be bringing in more buildings and gameplay loops to support the core game mechanics. And finally, I want to make a first pass at the user interface, how you build things and how you direct your villagers. All of that work over the next few weeks is aimed at a stage gate, which is basically to create a slice of the game that can be demoed. And I want to get there by probably October. The likely home for a demo is itch.io, which is a platform where players download free demos and games. That demo will unlock lots of things, but most important is early feedback. I want to know if the game's actually fun, what's working, what isn't working. I think the next devlog will probably be late August. I just want to make sure these come out when there's real updates to share. Okay, that's devlog 2. Tell me what you think, and if you spot an FMB I haven't caught, I want to hear about it. Until next time, may your flagons be full and your pivots be swift.